government continues to react to international condemnation of alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria. Senate President Godswill Akpabio has cautioned against portraying Nigeria's security crisis along religious lines, insisting terrorists and bandits target citizens indiscriminately, regardless of faith. Akpabio issued the warning during Thursday's plenary while contributing to a motion on alleged religious persecution of Christians in Nigeria. Akpabio questioned how anyone could differentiate victims by religions after attacks, emphasizing that violence affects all Nigerians equally.
If you look at what is happening in the Southeast, predominantly Christians, most of those that are killed in the Southeast, including the late husband of our demised icon, Dora Akunyili, the way the man was shot dead and everything, will you come and ascribe that to religion? I'm talking about what IPOP is doing. You see brothers killing brothers. Okay, so the sit at home that is going on Mondays in the Southeast that has almost crippled the economy of the Southeast. Is it targeted at Christians or Muslims? So Nigeria has complex security situations, and we should actually go out there and educate people, because the moment they bring sanctions to breed poverty. Poverty knows no religion. So for me, engagement will be the best. So when we go into executive session, we can decide to set up a small ad hoc committee to go to United States of America and engage our colleague parliamentarians there. And then to also educate them. Because if you see what these people are doing, most of them are outsiders. When they come and start spraying bullets from GP, or what do you call it, or they throw rocket, they are not throwing rocket into the crowd targeting a particular religion. They are killing Nigerians. I don't know who will now go and sit down and bring out maybe the dead bodies and say, this one is a Christian, this one is from this family, this must be a Muslim. So we are facing a situation whereby these terrorists are trying to terminate the lives of Nigerians. No, I was about to look at your side, because I think a lot of herbalists have also been killed in the. Is there anybody that is opposed to this motion? Okay.
All right. Every Nigerian life matters, including herbalists, according to Godswill Akpabio there. Now, that was Senate President Godswill Akpabio arguing that, framing terrorism as a conflict between Christians and Muslims is misleading and, only deepens divisions among Nigerians. The motion sparked intense debate on Thursday as lawmakers weighed national security narratives against reports of targeted attacks on religious communities across various states. Well, Akpabio's comments, however, have garnered several reactions on social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and of course, X, formerly known as Twitter. And I'll start with an X post. This person wrote, "Nigerians have been killed, both Christians and Muslims. This is a fact. However, it is unnecessary to constitute a delegation that would travel to the US to tell the full story. It is just another means to misappropriate taxpayers' funds. The truth will be told one day." Imagine Rufai Ayo, they want to send a delegation to the United States of America.
Is that not what they do?
Yes. And let me take another post that this person wrote. "Don't forget that this same Senate screened and cleared someone who forged his certificate to be minister. Let's hope that their US counterparts will not tell them what for. What are you doing here?" That's the question. Gradually, Nigeria will have external intervention since the internal ones have failed to yield results. And, one of the comments Godswill Akpabio made about, IPOB and the Southeast killing Nigerians, which, also is a fact. And I'll take a reaction from Facebook. This person posted on Facebook saying, "Your opinion is acknowledged, but we have to set a boundary line between secessionists and jihadists. Once you know the root cause of this insecurity, you will realize the Christians suffering the crisis. Because, he also talked about the fact that, these terrorists, when they go out to bomb a community, do we go out to pick out the find out whether they are Christians or Muslim being born. But you also know that the Christian Association of Nigeria has also debunked the federal government's claim about whether or not, Christians are being killed and all of that. I'd like your thoughts. Let me start with you, Ayo, since I started with you, Rufa, about Godswill Akpabio even trying to send a delegation to the United States to, sit with them and let them know what really is going on. Because it also touched on how sanctions would affect Nigeria eventually if this happens.
I think that's the most what Nigerians are worried about the most.
Correct.
Because of the consequence of being listed as a country of particular concern. And this is the highest condemnation by the United States on countries that are seen to not tolerate or promote religious freedom. Nigeria was listed or designated in 2020 and were removed from that list in 2021. And like you mentioned, it can bring economic sanctions and some aid being pulled away from the country as a way to serve as a measure to deter this. But let me talk about Senate President Akpabio, the uncommon senator, asking that he might put together a team of senators to go to America. For what exactly? Let the facts speak for themselves. Instead of spending Nigeria's hard-earned money and our resources to take our senators abroad, can we fix some of the challenges that he himself highlighted in trying to justify that it's not a religious targeted attack? He talked about issues around people being killed, citing the example of Professor Doyo Akinyuli's husband, very unfortunate one there. He talked about what happens in the Middle East and people being bombed. He talked about IPOB seats at home. These are real issues of concern, of security, whether or not they are religiously motivated. Can we sit down in our country and fix those issues rather than becoming a laughing stock in the world? And so a better solution would be for the Senate to come together and prefer or take a deep action, a specific action against violence and acts of terrorism in Nigeria against any Nigerian citizen. I think it's quite a shame as well, Oji, that it took the American Congress speaking about this, or people, whether it be the report that was done, to highlight how bad the security situation in Nigeria before we all begin to talk about trying to save the image of Nigeria and trying to talk about these issues when we already know that we have a problem in security in the nation. Please don't spend taxpayers' money going abroad. Let us fix the issues here and the facts will speak for themselves.
Well said, Ayo. Rufai, before I come to you, I'll take this so eventually you tie both together. Well, in Abuja, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu posthumously granted pardons to two historical figures, the father of Nigerian nationalism, Herbert Macaulay, and former FCT minister, Major General Mamman Vasta, as part of a list of 175 people endorsed by the National Council of State on Thursday. Herbert Macaulay, despite his iconic status, was twice convicted by colonial authorities in 1913 and in 1928, while General Mamman Vasta was sentenced to death in 1986 by a secret military tribunal for an alleged coup plot against his friend, then President Ibrahim Babangida. Of the total pardons, 82 inmates received full pardons, 65 had reduced sentences, and 7 death row sentences were commuted to life in prison, actions which Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani noted underscore the president's commitment to prison reform and justice. Rufai, over to you, and we are seeing that the president is really committed even to just all of these pardons and the awards that he has given only recently. He gave the Ogoni 9 as well as, Ken Saro-Wiwa as well as also the Kaduna General. We are seeing that the president is committed also to prison reforms like Uba Sani has said. And I'll come and sit with you so we can all discuss.
Okay. I mean, I think that's right on point, and the truth has to be said. I think it's right on point, to be able to give our national founding father, Herbert Macaulay, that kind of honor of pardon. But anyway, what he was being pardoned for is a dead law. Sedition is a dead law already. It doesn't exist again. I mean, it's pretty much the level of activism Howard Macaulay did back in the days, and we all know what he did in the media space and the advocacy activism space and all of that. But the question is, and that's why we say it's even good to teach history, because how many of the youngsters today even know history?
Sure.
I had the opportunity once to actually go to the school Herbert Macaulay attended in the UK. It's not the University of Plymouth.
Oh,
Yes, then it was a polytechnic where he attended. Nationalist, the Wizard of Kerstin Hall, as it was famously called, fought for the independence of this country. Was one of the first rebellious forces against the British. When the British had problems with Eshuwa Yeleko, the King of Lagos then, as regards water taxes and things like that, and he stood firm. And films have been made about Herbert Macaulay, but we don't tell the story enough. And Mamad Vatsa, we all know the tale, poet par excellence. I think Mamad Vatsa used to be a member of ANA, and the allegations of coup plot in Ibrahim Babangida's regime. But Babangida did write a lot about Mamad Vatsa and what transpired around that period in his book. And the Ogoni now, Ken Saro-Wiwa, you cannot forget that, and some other people involved in that. I mean, and I think, in all fairness to Tinubu, President Tinubu, he's tried to rewrite history and right some wrongs, especially around the Ogoni land and Ogoni area. You see, Oji, the other day, you see, when I talk sometimes, when people say, Rufai, you are not this, you are that, I'm sorry to say this. In the end, I always win the arguments. You had somebody here on Sunday that was telling you that Nigeria is an independent sovereign nation, that we should not go talk to America and everything.
Yeah.
And I was making the point that America, that last year, 2024, you collected $784 million in aid, close to $1 billion in aid for. So you are saying that they can talk however they want. No. They rule the affairs of things because you collect their aid.
Absolutely.
Any man you collect money from, you are subject to that man. As long as you are collecting aid from the EU, forget it. Most of the, training for the electoral body, electoral NGOs, it's not the EU that is funding it.
The EU.
So these people will still have one, and that's why now our politicians have woken up to reality to say we should go and beg. You see, as regards that, let me now make the point. There's a movement of right-wing Christian nationalism going on in America, where they skew a lot of narratives around Christian nationalism and they look for pressure points to be able to push it. In fact, Open Door, the same agency that released the report that the likes of Bill Maher and Ted Cruz are now quoting, has been known to be in the vanguard of this. But it doesn't make it necessarily true. So what you do in this regard, and I would be shell-shocked that if Nigeria that collects a lot of aid does not have some level of lobbying that goes on in America, you don't need to send a contingent there. It's lobbyists that will do the work.
I mean,
But they can have a virtual meeting.
they can have a virtual meeting.
But all of that will be arranged by lobbying.
Yes.
So anything you are going to do there, you just don't go and enjoy extra code and free hotel money. So it's lobbying that will now take over. But secondly, isn't it the shame on our country and our leadership that the Senate president is saying everybody suffers attack? Yes, we know. But you are the Senate president. You've not moved a motion that the president must solve the problem of insecurity once and for all. Isn't it a shame that even when it happens, it takes time before they even react? We had to be the one here to be shouting before President Tinubu went to Benue. When it happened in Jos, they didn't go. In fact, I heard that the police IG that went to Jos, he didn't even reach where the thing happened. He just went to the capital of Plateau.
You remember that the president actually challenged him there?
Yes.
What is the problem?
Look at, isn't it a shame that all this while, something has confounded us for all this while, and insecurity has continued to grow and grow and grow in our country.
At the end of the day,
and we call ourselves the giant of Africa. We churn out millions of barrels per day. We have Nobel laureates. We have so much intellectual people, but we can't solve our own insecurity problems. We still depend largely on aid by the Americans, and we say nobody can challenge our sovereignty. You are sovereignty for mouth as long as you are collecting aid money from those people.
I think the beginning of the solution
so let's wake up
to this insecurity terrorist act is when we see that our security forces are coming out with records of the people that they have killed. The people, the terrorists that name them. We want to see people that have been perpetrating this crime on a daily basis. Yes, kudos to the security forces, the military, DSS, but we need to see more of these people.